Okay, so tomorrow I'm planning on canning pinto beans. This is 4 pounds of pinto beans, and what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to have them soak overnight. I've opened it up, and so let's do this all together. Okay, so now I'm just going to pour them all in here, and what we're going to do is we are going to fill this up. If you can see how tall this is, okay, that's a big old stock pot. I'm going to fill this up to about here and let them soak overnight, because maybe even here, because they will, expand. So this is the beginning step. What you do is you just let them soak overnight for about, obviously 24 hours. So tomorrow we're going to do some canning of pinto beans, and I will see you tomorrow. Today we are making pinto beans, and I'm getting ready to can them. Now I have already soaked them. I'll show you that in a minute, but if you're going to can beans, green beans, pinto beans, anything that's low acid, you have got to use a pressure cooker. So, you must, or you're going to make yourself sick. So this is a pressure canner, and it's a deep one. This is Presto brand. Anyway, it's a great brand. I like it a lot. I've used it for several years now. And this holds 7 quarts or 8 pints. And we're going to be making them in pints today, because when we have pinto beans as a family, we don't use huge amounts. We just use small, because I'll make refried beans or just as a side dish. So anyway, you're going to need a pressure canner, and then any place that has canning supplies typically has a canning kit, and the kit is going to have a funnel, which you will need this. A funnel, you will need a gripper that grips the cans. You'll see this takes care of all the bubbles that you're going to need to get rid of. This helps you pick up things when they're really hot. You're definitely going to need that, your lids and your bands. You're going to need jars. These are heating up right now because we have to make sure that they're sterile. But anyway, you're going to need jars. If you can pan over here, honey, these are wide mouth jars. And then we have smaller, like this one on our honey is a regular mouth jar, but this is wide mouth jars. These are all wide mouth bands. Before you can, you need to make sure that your jars are sterile. So I usually run them through the dishwasher, and then on top of that, I boil them. So that's what's happening now, is these are going to be boiling while we prep the beans. Okay, so what I did was I took a 4-pound bag of beans that you saw. I showed it to you just, it might be in the next phase of it. Anyway, I put all of the beans in here in this big stock pot. And the beans came to about right here. I filled the water to here, and now the beans are almost to here. They have swollen. And you have to do this. You have to make sure that the beans are swollen before you can them, otherwise they're gonna bust your cans. So, stay right there. So what we're gonna do is, if you look inside here, these are all these bubbles that came from the beans, and it makes it so that the beans are less gassy, which is really nice. Okay, so anyway, and then also some beans that are broken, or any dirt or anything goes to the top. And so you just need to sift it out and get some of those things out of the top. Now, we're going to put, we have to rinse out these beans, and we're gonna start cooking them. So come here, honey. So these beans, we're gonna put in here, and we're gonna rinse them all out. Okay? And I've got them in a big colander. So this is your first, well actually this is your second step. This is going to be your second step. Here's a bunch. And it may take me doing more than 8. Pints, but we'll see. Okay. Now, if you don't have a pressure canner, then you can freeze. And that's fine too. But you'll have to cook them first. And I'll show you what we're doing. So we're rinsing these beans out. And after this gets done, we are going to cook them for 30 minutes. And then we will go through the process of canning. All right, so I'll see you in a few minutes and I'll show you how to start cooking. Okay, so I have now, I had just rinsed the beans. The beans sat overnight. It needs to be at least 18 hours. And they have swollen, and I rinsed them off. Now I put them in this pan. This is a big stock pot. There's my other pot heating up the jars. Now you'll notice, even after I rinse them and put new water in them, you have some just shells of beans floating. And so we don't need those in there. So they're just floating on top. So I'm going to take those out. And then I'm going to turn the heat to high. And we're going to have this come to a boil. At this point, you don't add any salt. You don't add any of that. That'll come later when we're getting ready to can. But right now, we're just getting them to the cooking process. And we're going to cook these for 30 minutes after they boil. Once they start boiling, then you count for 30 minutes. Okay, I'll see you in a little bit. Oh, one more thing I wanted to show you. Okay, there is, if you are new in canning, this book, I think this is an older version, but it's called the Ball Blue Book of Preserving. This is a must. This is so good. It will walk you through the entire thing. No matter what you're canning, I mean, it will walk you through it all. So it'll also help you with freezing if you want to freeze things. So it is really, really good. Any kind of preserving, it'll walk you through it. All right, I'll see you in a little bit. I would show you, since we've got just a little bit of time on your pressure canner, you want to, after your use, like for the day, because you may can several things a day, maybe 2 or 3 things a day, you want to always pull out this whole thing, this whole rubber seal. And I put about a tablespoon of oil on my hands, and I rub my hands together, and then I take this and I go through, I just run this all through my hands. So it's got a nice amount of oil on it. And that keeps that pliable. You want that pliable and not breaking up. Also, whenever I wash, I take this nut and bolt off, and I take this off every single time and wash it. And then also, this is where your steam comes out. After every use, I put a pipe cleaner through it, and I make sure that I can see through it. See there? You can see through that. You'll want to do that. And then also with your actual canner itself, you can just wash it with soap and water. And you'll see that there is a line here. That's where you're going to fill. You'll see it'll designate the lines, but it's usually the lowest line that you're going to fill to. And I add a couple of tablespoons of vinegar to the water. I've already done that, but I add that to keep my cans from getting like a cloudy film on them, because that will happen in the canning process. Okay, and my beans are almost done, so we'll see you in my jars out. You just grab them by this. You will definitely want to do that. You want to do that as you're putting the jars in, jars out. Anytime you're manipulating the jars, you want to use this. So you just grab it, and this has the water in it. So they've been nice and they're sterilized at this point. And we'll be getting the rest of them out. and getting ready to put that in. Okay, so we're now at the point where the beans have cooked for about 30 minutes. I guess you can show them this, honey. So there's your beans and your bean juice, and we're going to be adding that juice to top your beans in your cans. All right, so what you do is you take, I have a big ladle here. This thing is so handy, but it holds 2 cups, about 2 cups. And I'm going to take my beans. You've got your funnel here. And fill up the beans. And you're going to have to give yourself, it says about an inch head space. So that's about an inch right there. It's already got juice in it. Okay, so you're going to be doing this to all these, filling them all up. And then when you get done, you're going to be adding, I'll just show you real quick. When you're done filling them all up, then you're going to add salt. It's 1/2 teaspoon for every pint, a whole teaspoon for every quart. And I just put it right on top because it's going to be, I put that on there before I add the juice. So the juice will make it run down, but even as it's cooking in the pressure canner, it's going to be boiling in there. So, or you can put it in the bottom like that. All right. So I'll show you once we get all these filled, then we'll get back with you and I'll show you how to add the lids and the rings. Okay, thank you. So now we're at the point, we've already filled the jars. You're going to use this tool. This is your gauge. It tells you the depth of your, how far you are from the top. So we're right at an inch, so that's good. That's what it tells us to do, about an inch from the top. All right, and then you're going to take this side and you're going to go all around the outside. And you're going to, what you're doing is you're getting bubbles out from all of them. In the meantime, what you have done is, or you should have done, or I should have told you to do, you need to be heating up your rims and your lids. Never reuse the lids. They need to be never used. Now, if that's all you have, then you could try to boil them until they're very, 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 very soft, but it's not recommended. Okay, so I've gone through all those. And then what you want to do is you want to make sure that there is no water on the top of these because you want them to seal very, very well. If you're doing something sticky in canning, the best thing to do is to use a little bit of vinegar, and that breaks it up. So you're going to use this tool next, vinegar on your paper towel, I meant. And if you do this with vinegar on your paper towel, it'll clean it up. Okay, so you're going to take your lid, and you're going to dry it off. Make sure your hands are clean. You know, you're working with some sterile stuff here. And these are all been, you know, they're sterile now. Take these and you're just cleaning off the bottoms, putting them on top. And then the same thing with the lids. You want everything hot. It's hot. Ooh, hot, hot, hot. You're just going to hand tighten them. And then you're going to do that to all of these. And then you're going to set them down here in your pot. And I'll show you what it looks like before we seal it up and put it on the fire. Okay, so I've got my fire burning. I usually can outside. You can't tell, but there is a huge flame on that right now. Anyway, I've got my cans down here. You need to read your directions with your canner and make sure, because yours is going to be different than mine. But just follow the canning directions as far as the water and all of that. I've got my seal on. I've checked that. I've checked here. Everything's clear. I match... Uh-oh, got the dogs. I match up the little point, the arrow, with this arrow. I seal it to the side. Then I'm gonna put it right on the fire. Now, what you're gonna do is you're gonna wait until steam starts coming out of here for a few minutes. Once steam's coming out of here for a few minutes, then we're gonna put a stopper right on top of that. And that's gonna cause the pressure in here to start building. And you wanna have 10 pounds of pressure. Show this, honey, show this dial. 10 pounds of pressure, there. And this is gonna go, I'll have to check, but I think it's for an hour and 15 minutes, but I'll check on that. Anyway, 10 pounds of pressure. So I'll get back with you. Process pints for 1 hour and 15 minutes. So that is from the time that you start seeing it at 10 pounds of pressure, not from this minute. But once it starts going to 10 pounds of pressure, that's when you start timing. So that is 75 minutes. For quarts, it's going to be 1 hour and 30 minutes. 90 minutes total at 10 pounds of pressure. Okay, so we're looking at an hour and 15 minutes. All right, as you can see, I have a stovetop that's all one piece, and they do not recommend that you pressure can on a stovetop like that. It could burn, it could break it. But I have heard that with other stoves, you can, you know, the kind that have individual burners, even electric stoves. So those are fine if you have them, but I don't have those, so I have to use an outside burner, and that's what I. See that steam coming out? That's what you want. This also will come up. This is like a safety valve. This is also a safety valve. All right, so I'm gonna put it on, and you're gonna see the pressure start build. And it will jiggle. You'll hear it jiggling, and that's okay. You want it to jiggle because it's gotta release a little bit of pressure, or it's gonna go crazy. And what we want to do is we want to see the gauge. See, it's starting to go up now. I don't know if you can see that. See there? It's starting to go up a little bit. So you go to 10 pounds of pressure. That's what you're looking at. I'll get back with you as soon as I see it. It's right at 10 pounds of pressure. Now what I need to do is turn my heat down. So I do that. And this is the tricky part, folks. Keeping it down but not taking it off. And you're gonna go pretty low. You're gonna go on your stove, it'll be real low. And I try to keep it around 10 or 12 for that whole time. And right now it's 4:45, so I've got to count an hour and 15 minutes from now. And that's where you want it to stay, right around there. All right, we'll see you in an hour and 15 minutes. I'm not sure if you can see this, but the temperature gauge is going down. It's about 5 or so. Anyway, you don't do anything with this, and you wait until this is at 0, and this is down, and this is down. You don't do anything to this. This is what's called, I forget the actual term for it, but it's when you let it go down naturally. Sometimes a recipe tells you to take this off right away and let the steam come out right away, but you don't do that with beans. You don't do that with most canning. Some you do, but not this. So just let it go down naturally. It's a little cooler and windy today, so it won't take as long, but don't do anything. Don't take the lid off at all until all of that's down and that's at 0. Okay, I'll see you in a minute. So you can see that this is down. This is down. That is at 0. So I'm going to take this off. No pressure. See? You want to make sure there's no pressure. All right, so now what we do is just slide it off. See if I can do this with one hand. That's funny. Okay, it's going to be super hot. But, see that steam coming off? Okay, I'm going to get right back with you just a second. So it's ready. So we just start pulling them out. There you go. Some of them looks like they've already sealed. And just take them out one at a time. Pressure canning can be scary, but if you follow the directions, you're really fine. It's not scary at all, and it does a great job. Keeps your food for you for a year or two. And wow, what a way to preserve. I've even preserved meat. You can can chicken, which is, I should show that to you sometime. That is killer. But anyway, it's fun. Look at that, how it's boiling just a little bit. See there? That's okay. All right, so it looks like they've all sealed. Sometimes you bring them out and they haven't even sealed yet, but once you put them out in the cool air, they go pop, 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 pop. So anyway, there you go. And I have enough left that I'll probably do another 6 pints. So we should be good for beans for a while. So that is how you can pinto beans. Have a great time.